What's up? This is Michelle.
Hi, this is Alondra,
Welcome to our podcast.
where we discuss anything and everything that comes to mind. So,
Yes.
for sure. So, we were talking about how your week was. You said it went well, and I said I had a short week, so I'm very happy with that. Short week because of the Memorial Day. So, what have you been up to? Like what interesting topics have you been diving into this week?
Well, I've watched quite a bit of things this week from obviously the verdict. We had the
Oh,
verdict this week.
for
Um,
sure.
so we've got that, and then just doing some other random studies this week. So
I was like, man, after that weekend, and then it was a long weekend, right? And then trying to figure out whether they were gonna be, you know what's funny? I went on like law TikTok, and you know how each lawyer predicts. I don't think Johnny's gonna win, but at least he cleared his name, and now to go back and he did win, and I mean, everybody seems super excited for him because really a lot of people felt that Amber really did him wrong, like in a lot of ways, kind of used him and lied about it. And I think if she would have taken the 7 million and gone her merry way, right? Then she would have been $7 million richer, but she had to capitalize on everything. And then when the lies started coming out, because let me tell you, in the beginning, I was like, when those allegations came out, like before the trial, before anything, during the Me Too movement, it was like,
right,
I was like, well, maybe. Like I didn't, I didn't really have like, no, I didn't have like how some people would say Johnny did, would never do that, because in all reality, we all don't know Johnny
right,
Depp personally, and we're just basing it on Pirates of the Caribbean. We know that he had like a party reputation and bad boy reputation. So that wouldn't have surprised me. So it didn't surprise me. It was like, oh, Johnny Depp's a jerk too. Okay, keep it moving, right?
yeah,
And even during the trial, even in the beginning of the trial, I was still giving her the benefit of the doubt.
same.
But then when all this stuff came out and all these lies came out, then I was like, wait a minute, this lady's lying.
Yeah,
And when people don't like liars, they don't, especially when it was like huge big lies like that that ruin people's reputation and ruin people's lives. That's people just don't like that. And this, when people saw that she was lying on Johnny, they were like, oh, no way, no way. And I think the tables turned on her quick.
yeah. I mean, dealing with previous in my own life, I wanted to hear her out. Because you never know. I mean, Johnny didn't have any other Me Too moments, right? Like nobody else came out and said, you know what, he did this to me too. Um, which was kind of strange that it just all of a sudden happened to her and nobody else. So I went into the trial trying to be as unbiased as possible, hear her out. But the moment she got on the stand and just hearing the recordings, it was clear. It was clear by everything that she was not the victim. And I
Okay.
mean, I tried to be as unbiased about it as possible through as much as I could, but it just became more clear and more clear and more clear that that just wasn't the case. Like, I have a very dark sense of humor too. And so I can see where some of his things come off, and it's like, doesn't sound very nice, but they had the same personality, right? Like you hear them talking about the disco at the Bloodbath book. I don't know if you heard that, but
Yeah.
there was a disco at the Bloodbath book, right? They had the same dark personality. Even Isaac Baruch talked about her dark sense of comedy, and they got along very well. Um, so to take a lot of Johnny's texts and stuff, because they were so dark, they had that comedy together. And Isaac Baruch even talked about how she had that same dark sense of humor. So, but there's a difference between a dark sense of humor and actually doing it to somebody.
And he just wasn't that guy. He was just kind of like dark sense of humor, kind of sarcastic, right? You know?
Yeah.
And in reality, I mean, the guy was innocent. And let me tell you something, was not a huge Johnny Depp fan. Like, I knew him for Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, I followed his career somewhat, but wasn't the type of person that would be like, "Oh, Johnny Depp's in it. Let me go watch this movie." I wasn't that type of person. But I mean, by all intents and purposes, I mean, the court found her, found
Completely guilty.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for defamation. Like, um, so he won, and I mean, all is well in Johnny's world. And then, did you see that he had reunited with Kate Moss? I don't know if you heard that he was in London reunited
She,
with Kate
he,
Moss, which is
I think he flew her out.
cute.
And then he also flew out his entire team, Camille and all of them. And it looked like Judy, the court reporter.
Oh, to London?
I
Also,
believe
Camille was in
so.
London?
Yeah, because it showed Camille getting on a plane with the team. And then later they were all partying with Johnny that same day. So I don't know if he flew back, but I mean, he still had that stuff going on in London. So I think he flew them out there and they actually got to see him perform
Well, he's supposed to be going out on tour.
with Jeff
I
Beck.
forgot
Yeah.
with who. Yeah, I heard that. And so, well, I mean, all is well in Johnny's world right now. And
Yep.
she's like, they were saying that she's like negative 8 million in her net worth now. Oh, did you see the interview with her attorney, Elaine, where
Yeah.
she's like, can your client pay this? And she's like, no,
Yeah.
no, she can't.
She threw the jury and the judge under the bus. And I don't know if you saw the other post that I made about that, but in the future, that's going to hurt her. Any case that she's on in the future and she has a jury, and the jury saw what happened with this, and her talking afterwards about how the only way that they could have lost is because the jury was watching stuff online through the trial. I mean, as a juror in the future, if I ever came on one of Elaine's cases as a juror and saw what happened, I mean, you're saying that you don't have any faith in the jurors. Why would I want to be a juror for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to be like picked, right? But at the same time, like you can give enough attitude that be like, I'm not picking this person, right? When you're asking the questions. So yeah, for sure. Like I think perception. Oh, my iPad fell. Perception of so right. Everything is about perception, right? And the moment she walks into a room, if I'm a potential client of hers, like I'm gonna think twice about picking her because of the way she looked, one, during the Amber Heard trial, and
Yeah.
then two, what she said, when once the trial was over. I think it was on the Today Show, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What she said on the Today Show, I'd be like, I don't want that person representing me, because if she's going to be representing me, then when a jury sees her, right, and maybe familiar with her, to your point, they're going to think, oh, that's the lady from the Amber Heard trial, and that's the lady that talked um, bad about her jurors on, the Today Show. I
Yep.
don't like her, and since I don't like her, I'm not going to like the person she's representing,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be the client. So yeah, for sure. I wouldn't have said what she said. She was kind of almost making it seem like it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my legal skill, right? It was the
Yeah.
judge and the jury.
And
Well,
that's messed up because she still has to deal with Judge Escarati. Um, they still have to file some other things with them apparently. And she was supposed to do an interview with, I think, Crime TV today, and she canceled last minute. Um, yeah. And
that's
so
interesting.
they're like, because she said that there was some emergency trial stuff or something,
So you
or
think she just made
emergency
an
court stuff.
excuse? She made an
Um,
excuse.
Somebody had said that maybe she got called in about it, about her doing these interviews and accusing the judge and the jury. Because I mean, a lot of the lawyers that I've seen on TikTok so far have really said that Judge Escarati seemed to be very fair in her
Was
rulings.
she? Well,
I think
yeah. And
she
if I
was.
was, oh, for sure. For sure, she probably has a reputation of being fair. I'm sure if she had a reputation of not being fair, that would
Yeah,
have been brought up by the media. Um, I find it fairly interesting how some people viewing, or listening to the court case, listening to the testimony, looking at everything that came out of Amber's mouth, still believe her, like blindly believe
yeah.
her.
But you
And
know what? I feel that those people who are blindly believing her are people who have truly never lived through a narcissistic relationship. And
mm,
they're just like the feminists that are believe all women, you know. That's what I feel, because I've seen so many survivors come out and say the same thing that I've said, which is we can see who the narcissist is here. And it's not Johnny. I mean, he doesn't
yeah, for sure.
have a history of it either. I mean, the way that
And
he gives all his time to everything. And, she talked about him secluding her from her friends and family. But he moved all her friends into the same building. Like, your abuser does not do that. That is not exclusion at all. I mean, he let what, 3, 4 of your friends live there.
yeah, he was super generous with her as a husband, and not all husbands are super generous like that. And he was like, I'll take care of you, right? Whatever you need. And I think he probably had a hand in her taking the parts that she took, even though she
Sure.
denies it. So it's very unfortunate. I know some people are just saying that she better call Elon to help her out. I know that's cold. That's cold, right?
he was
Yeah.
he was he was spotted somewhere this past weekend with a new girl.
Oh
So
my goodness. Elon,
I don't even know
I
what's
wonder
going on
if
with that man.
here's the thing. It seems that to me that Elon has a new girlfriend and then he offers her his sperm. How about let's have kids together?
I mean, he's I would say, a very, maybe not the smartest person in the world, but he's definitely one of the top ones. So if we are going to spread some sperm, I mean, I guess why not his?
Why not?
He
Because
just
I
needs
mean,
to do a little better job at picking them. I mean,
he's
Grimes
got
is
a
pretty smart, but
I haven't heard a lot about his first wife. I mean, I don't feel like she's come out and talked a lot about him. I mean, she must be well taken care of, I'm sure. And now
yeah,
you're
not a
right.
lot.
Saw her. One of the things that I find interesting, right, is he's got this project in Texas called SpaceX, I believe. And do you really think
Yeah,
he has
SpaceX.
he has a personal interest in going into space, like him personally?
He said that he doesn't necessarily want to go to Mars in the beginning because it would not be wise, because it is going to be hard and people are going to die in the process of getting Mars set up. And it just probably wouldn't be wise to send him as one of the first to die, because clearly, I mean, he is very smart. If we lose his intellect, a lot of what he's working on will go away, right? We have not just SpaceX, but he has Solar City, and he
Mhm.
also has Boring Company building the tunnels. He also has Tesla. Um, I mean, he's got quite a few companies that he's doing a lot of really great things with. So is he the best person ever? No, but he's trying to do a great thing for humanity, I think, by creating these companies like Solar City, the Boring Company, where he's trying to eliminate traffic essentially by creating tunnels underground. Um, and then you've got SpaceX, because, I mean, let's face it, we're literally one catastrophe from being a one planet civilization, right? Like one big meteor hits Earth and the entire civilization is pretty much wiped out.
It's
So
funny. I think you're right. I think if he wanted to go to space, he would have done like so. Jeff wanted space, like he wanted, and he did. Right? He went into space. So just completely, when you think about it, to your point, it's
kind
risky.
of. He didn't really go into
Well,
space.
yeah, but he went. You know, but think
They
about it,
went
it's
up
still risky.
into the lower part of our atmosphere, basically.
Yeah, but but it was something that he
Yeah.
wanted to do, and even then, it's still risky. Even though if he had all these engineers to do it, it's still a risk. And so you're right.
The
Elon's
takeoff
not
for
going
sure.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
to take off. So Elon's not like it's not. You're right. It's not his thing to take his risk. So even though he has SpaceX, to your point, I don't think he wants to go into. He has no interest in going into space himself.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Which
he was asked that in an interview and he had said straight up, he said, I do want to die on Mars, just not on impact. Like he wants to die of old age on Mars by going there when he's older. Um,
uh-huh.
but not in the beginning because he said it is going to be a lot like I forget the name of the story, but basically the crew that traveled through Antarctica. I mean, it's
Mhm.
going to be a hard trip. People are going to die. Like it is what it is. Getting Mars set up for human life is not going to be an easy task by any means. I think these AI robots that he started building are a good thing though, because they could actually go start the civilization and you don't
Mhm.
really have to think about food travel for them and you're not really worried about having to have anywhere for them to particularly live because they're just machines.
Mhm.
Um, so that could be a thing. Have you seen it?
No, I've not. I've not seen it at all.
It literally looks about the same size and shape as a human, but it's white and black. I think it's like a Tesla bot or something like that. Um, but it's really crazy to look at. It literally looks like a person in a suit, but it's not. It's a bot.
Insane. I have to like Google it. Lately, I've been watching. There's like these series of vignettes. They're on Netflix. Some of them are tad racy, which kind of speed through, but some of them are like really interesting. And it's called Love, Death, and Robots. And it
Oh,
goes through
mm-mm.
kind of these serious, um, I don't know. Some of them make you think. Some of them are like really sci-fi, but some of them have like this kind of like moral, um, background to them or moral storyline to them. And one of them, they have these three robots, and it's like humans like killed themselves. They've done away with themselves, right? And they're just like, this was, this is where, you know, they show like where the humans who were like lower to middle class where they died, and then they show the millionaires who died on like platforms on the hill because they had not fit, they had overfished the waters and they were polluted, and then
Mm.
they had the billionaires going into space, they didn't make it, it was just kind of like, and at the end they were all gone and it was just like kind of robots roaming the earth. But yeah, I mean, we have all need
Interesting.
to do all of that, to take care of our environment, but we don't. And it's sad. It really is. It's sad. Um, because I mean, do we need all of this? Like, sometimes I really start thinking about that, right? Do we really need, the way that the comforts, right, that we've become accustomed to? Maybe not, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, I
I
think we
mean,
could definitely be more conservative about things,
mhm,
right? Like not buying to excess, not buying just because, not buying these excessive things, right? Like new cars just because we want a new car that's $100,000. Instead, like using our other cars to max, right? Like um excessively buying clothing, and then they all typically get, I don't know if you've seen, but a lot of it gets donated to, what country is that? I think maybe Ethiopia or something, but they literally have thousands of garments just all over this land that's not even being used. It's basically being sent there as garbage. And It just sits there on these people's land, halfway
It's
still in
completely
boxes and stuff.
it's completely sad. The other day I was watching there's this TikToker that I follow. Her name's Michaela and she does makeup tutorials. Very nice girl.
Yeah,
And she was throwing away her
Lagra, something like that.
yeah, she was throwing away her like makeup. And I thought the same thing. How many jars of makeup do we just throw away in the trash? Right? Just throw
She
it.
has
It would
so
be
much makeup because it's given to her. Yeah,
exactly, but then it's all these containers trash. Wouldn't it be nice? I don't know how you would do it. And I don't know, I'm sure somebody's thought about it. Where you go to this place, this store, and it has all these pretty containers, right? And you buy your containers, but you go in and refill your makeup at the store. Like you have to go refill it. So you're not using all these containers, or you give a container, they wash it, right? You pay like a deposit for it, they wash it, they give you
yeah,
back
yeah.
the
You just
deposit.
turn it back in, and like you get a discount on the next product or something.
Yes, that would be like amazing. I think it would probably be the best thing ever. Or, but I don't know how it would be like around regulations, like cleanliness and those sorts of things. But I guess you can disinfect a bottle. Like, when people do preserves, that's what they do. They wash those bottles and then they disinfect them. So I don't see
I
why
mean, they
not.
use the same freaking stuff to do surgeries at the hospital over and over
Yeah, so I'm
by
saying
sterilizing.
you sterilize the bottle and then you pick the bottle that you want your base in and then you go in and then make it like cost effective. And then the makeup can be like free of like any talcs and just like really clean makeup.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. But maybe somebody's thinking about it somewhere out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that would be like a nightmare for some of these companies because then they have to figure out how to recycle the things, how to sterilize them and stuff like that. I mean, you could definitely use other things than plastic, but plastic is a lot cheaper, right?
Exactly. It would
So
probably bump up the price. But then again, with $30 base, I mean, you
they're
got to
already
think.
charging way over, making way
Yeah.
over on
So
profit. Yeah.
so you have to think, right? And you think about overhead, electricity, and paying their employees, obviously when they're that big. But you got to think at one point is how much enough profit enough, right? Like
It's not.
it's
That's
never
where we're at right
enough.
now, right? Like,
It's never enough.
yeah, my take on capitalism is that capitalism isn't bad. But the problem that we have with capitalism right now is that there's no enough is enough. It's always how can we get more profit for our shareholders. Um, and there is no cutoff. There is no like, oh yeah, this is plenty. We're doing great with revenue. It's how can we get more profit? How can we get more revenue for our shareholders? And that's the basis behind the capitalism that we have right now is more, more, more. And I think that's where a lot of people who are liberal are having an issue with capitalism is because for one, they're not seeing the trickle down economics that was talked about, right? Like all of the shareholders are the ones who keep getting the profits. And that would be okay if these companies were like ESOP, where all of the employees had a share in the company as well. And so when everybody was doing good, everybody was doing good. That
Hmm.
it's not just the people at the very top of the corporation, but many companies don't do that, which is silly. I mean, it's a huge tax haven for them to have an ESOP as well. So I don't understand why more companies aren't ESOP. It just
Hmm.
it's crazy to me. I don't know if there needs to be some kind of regulation. Obviously, it would never happen, but it would make a lot more sense because then more people would have more money
Hmm.
because they would have retirement plans, better retirement plans, stock share within the company. Um, like I don't know, it just seems like a better way to go.
Yeah. And I always thought like how much would it be in like I see all these actors like constantly working, right? I mean, at what point do you say, "All right, I was on a hit show, I made $1 billion." Like at what point do I say, "I'm done." Like I don't need all of that. Like for example, the Kardashians, they're always like, you know, coming out again. If I had that much money, do you think I would be worried about taking pictures? I mean, I'd be like, I already got my money. I live very well. do I need more? I mean, certainly you got to upkeep that lifestyle because obviously a private jet has to, I can't even imagine what it costs
Yeah.
to maintain it and to, um,
And they all
the
have one.
pilots.
Kylie
Oh,
has
do
one, Kim has one, I think Chloe has one. Like they all have one. So
what a
like
waste.
why does everybody in the family need a jet? Like can't y'all share one, you know?
What a waste. You know what? Let me tell you, I'll be upfront. I would not, like, if I had the kind of money, I would not be flying a private jet. I'd be flying commercial. Like, I'd be flying first class, but I'd be flying commercial. I would not do a private jet. Those things go down all the time. I just don't know. No. I do
Yeah. I mean, I
commercial and
kind
I
of get
won't
it
care.
because it is a time saver because you're not having to wait for a certain flight. You can literally leave anytime you want to go
Oh, for
wherever it
sure.
is that you need to go. And for them, they are flying all the places all the time. So it would make
For sure.
sense to have one because it's a huge tax write off for one. But why each person needs one just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, they could share one or two. You don't need like three or four, you know?
Just the cost of maintaining it, right? I don't know. I just think it's just like a waste. I would be like, okay, give me $5 million. I think I'm fine with that. I can live off the interest. And I don't know if I can. Maybe like, I haven't done the math on that yet. Like,
Sure. Yeah. Just
sure.
having, I mean, FTX.us is a crypto platform. You
Uh-huh.
get 8% interest on all of your things
Oh
on that
wow.
platform. So, I mean, for right now, and it has been ever since I've been on the platform. So,
Hmm.
I earn 8% on pretty much every one of my cryptos, any cash that I hold within there. So, I
Hmm.
can just put cash in there and hold it in there, and it earns 8%. Um, I can send you the link if you want to sign up for FTX. It's really easy to use. And anybody listening, you can actually go to the link in my bio. It's in there. So if you're interested in signing up, you can do that. But yeah, FTX.us is really great because the stock market overall each year typically makes roughly, there are up years and there are down years, but over time typically you earn about 10% on the stock market depending on if you're
Hmm.
just investing in like the S&P 500.
Yeah.
Year over year it usually makes 8 to 10%.
Hmm. It's true.
This year probably not that much.
Mm. I
But
know. It's horrible.
we're literally in a live crash right now and it's just not even being talked about
I've been
at all.
hearing a lot of people, some people have been well, didn't Elon release, didn't, wasn't there some email released by Elon? Not by Elon. Elon didn't release an email, but somebody released an email from Elon about, first, remember he had said that he wanted all his employees to come back to work. And
Yeah.
then it was because he needs to let go of 10% of his employees. And he
Yeah.
feels that by saying you have to come back to work, some of them are going to like drop off anyway.
Yeah.
So they felt that that was probably the first step. And then the second step would obviously is providing severance because you're not going to want to, according to
He's
the
trying to
source, I
save
don't know who the
himself some
source.
money for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so if people want to leave because they have to come back to work, because one of these creators was saying, I'm trying to figure out who the name of that person was, I can't remember, but was saying that he knew that there was not enough desks and enough not parking space slots or anything like that.
Yeah.
So then that was going to happen with Tesla. And then he also said that there was going to be, what did he say? They said that there was like, he used some word. He didn't say dark. I don't know what he said, but it was kind of like some word that I like, very bad or very cool. I mean, it was very simple. It wasn't like a fancy flowery word. It was just kind of like, it's going to be bad or something like that.
Yeah, so the guy, I think I know who you're talking about, but I don't know his name either. But he was predicting that basically what happened is that Elon needed to eliminate some people, but he's thinking that Tesla's having a hard time, and I don't think that that's the case because their orders have been up and up and up, and so
Oh,
I
people
don't
are buying
think,
them.
yeah, I don't think that Tesla is having a hard time, but Elon did say that he predicts a huge problem in the market soon in the economy.
Hmm.
Um, which is true. I mean, if anybody's paying attention right now, you can literally see we are in the remnants of a crash. I mean,
Mhm.
it's happening. And Elon predicted that either by the end of this year or the beginning of next year, that we would be in full crash. So this is, he talked about this, I think it was like 6 to 8 months ago, that
Oh,
he
wow.
predicted that late 2022, 2023, that we are going to have a crash.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this isn't new. He already saw that coming. So it is what it is. Elon works a lot. So it's not like
Mhm.
he's asking people to do something that he himself doesn't do. He literally
Yeah.
sleeps at the factories. You know what I'm saying? So it's one thing when your boss is telling you to come back to work for 40 hours, but yet they're working from home.
Mhm.
And then having Elon, who literally sleeps at his companies and works 100 hours a week. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's telling people again to do something that he himself is not willing to do. And I get that it's his baby, but I don't know. I guess with a company like what he's trying to do, I mean, there are certain things at his company that I'm sure you could work at home, but he likes to have people right there. He likes to know what's going on. He likes to be interpersonal with his people, not micromanage from what it seems like. But
Mhm.
I mean, for what Tesla's doing and what SpaceX is doing, I would imagine he does want you there. You're working on things that are very important that could change within a split second, and you need to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I kind of see that, especially again, like I said, it's one thing if your boss is telling you to do something they're not willing to do because they don't want to
Mhm.
be there 80 hours or 40 hours a
Mhm.
week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Elon is there. And if he's not there, he's at one of his other companies doing the exact same thing. So
Yeah, he's very hard work. He's definitely a very hard worker when it comes to like managing his companies. So, have you heard anything about his new girlfriend? I don't know if that's his girlfriend. She's like
I
a
don't
model or
I don't
something.
remember who she was. I don't remember who she was. Somebody had a picture and they posted it online though, from somewhere. From somewhere. I don't know where it's
Yes.
from, but
I
they
wonder
were
who she
eating or
is.
something.
Because last time we were talking on the podcast that him and Grimes were partners. So I assumed that
Yeah.
when they were partners, they were still like together, or maybe do you think maybe they just have an open relationship?
Yeah. Well, he said that they're still really good friends.
Yeah,
A
but
leisurely
being
lunch in Saint Tropez with girlfriend. They called it girlfriend. I don't know if that's what she really is. Natasha Bassett.
Asha Bassett.
She's an
Interesting.
Australian actor.
Oh, okay. So he got himself another actress.
Yeah. I think she's pretty young too.
Well, Grimes is pretty young. I mean, when compared to
I think
him, I
Grimes
mean,
is 30 something.
let's see, Grimes. I thought she might be early 30s. I don't
Because
know.
I
I don't
thought
know
she
how
was really, really young, but I think she's in her 30s.
No, she's 34. So she's not
Yeah.
incredibly young.
She just looks really young.
Yeah, and then she just talks Natasha Bassett. Yeah, Natasha does look very young. Elon is sweeping her off her feet. Oh, she looks super young.
Yeah.
But she's 27 years old. So she's not that
Yeah.
young.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, she's not that young. I mean, she's 27. I mean, I just think that once you're over 25, in
Yeah.
my mind,
I mean, do
that's
what
like
you
the
want. You're full grown.
yeah, do what you want. Yeah, you're full grown. Like when you're pushing 30, you're full grown. Like if he was 20 or 21, I'd be like, a little I'd be looking at him a little but you know what? He has very young girlfriends and you're right. I wonder if she's going to go blonde like all the rest of them. She's a
Well,
redhead
he's
now.
very much a kid at heart. Like you can tell by the stuff that he does and the products he works on and his demeanor. Like he's just a big kid at heart. even with his boring company, they create stuff all the time that are just like fun, whimsical, like spur of the moment gigs that he works on besides working on the stuff that he's already working on.
That's true. You know what? I really prefer him with Grimes. I don't know, I just like them together. I just think that they would kind of like an interesting couple.
Yeah.
So I kind of really like his vibe with her. But I mean, who knows about this young starlet after that? She's probably gonna end up, you know, who
Yeah, I don't
knows?
know who
Hey,
she is.
did you see the back to the Amber Heard? Because we went like way off on Elon. But back to Amber Heard, what do you did you see that video with her and her sister were like bopping, to the
To
song
the
after
Justin Bieber song.
Justin Bieber song, supposedly. Now I don't know because I didn't do the research. It wasn't that deep for me. Supposedly it was right after she got her like 7 million,
7 million. Yeah.
and he got her, and then they were like super happy. Oh my goodness, I can't even. This lady's like, and I did feel bad for her a little bit because she is a mom, right? And I think we talked about it last time. I did feel because she's a mom,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like, dude,
She dug
what is
this
she?
hole.
What is she gonna do? You know what she can do? She can probably date maybe like, well, maybe I was gonna say an oligarch, but right now they're not doing very well, so maybe not. Maybe
Nobody's gonna,
not.
I mean, everybody sees what she's like now, though. So
Yeah, yeah,
she's
but
not going to be
there's
able to get
still.
a partner. Well, I mean, she doesn't, I don't even think she really wants to date guys anyway. She's, from what other women have said, she's gay. So, which is not a bad thing, just is she dating these men for the money, which is kind of what it seems so far. So,
Yeah, I don't know. Who
yeah,
knows? Who
she dug
knows?
this
Maybe.
hole and it's
And
a
yeah,
it's a very deep
but she'd
hole.
still like a fame. Oh, and she lost her contract with DC, is what I heard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard that all her parts were removed from Aquaman too. I don't know how how true that is, but I saw that today too.
They were trying to make it a deal because Jason Momoa liked her post, but then if you dug a little deeper, he also liked Johnny Depp's post. And then
Yeah,
you're like, he's just trying to be Mr. Neutrality. He's trying like, let's all be friends, guys. I don't even think that he's like. At first, I thought maybe that they could have had a thing, but I don't. I think they might have been flirtatious with each other. That's it. But I don't. He didn't. He didn't go back. I mean, he didn't go and pursue her after the relationship was over. He's dating somebody else. So who knows?
yeah. I don't know. I definitely feel bad to an extent for her because there are a lot of bad. I guess not bad people, but there are a lot of people saying really bad things to her. Granted, she did dig this hole for herself, but I don't feel that she should be receiving death threats and that people should be saying they want to do things to her baby or anything like that. It's
Oh, agreed. Agreed.
she's a very sick person. Obviously, she needs some help. Whether she feels that way and she gets that help, honestly, I don't know based off of her post that she put directly after. Um, from what I've heard other lawyers talk about, basically Johnny could literally sue her again for defamation from that post that she made directly after the case. Um, and that Elaine could also be held accountable for defamation to the jurors. So I
You
don't
know,
know. I mean,
at this point, I don't know how she's not going to be able to pay that money. And if she did, because she was living it up, so maybe that money's even gone.
well, so during this case, she bought a property for like $560,000 out in the desert
Mm-hmm.
during this case going on. And
Yep.
then she was being so she was paying Elaine and her legal team from her homeowner's policy. It had a rider on it that basically covered her legal fees, but there's a stipulation they said in her rider that is in regards to malice. and that basically her insurance policy could decide not to pay the entirety, or I think any amount, to her legal counsel because of it being malice.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 million is what she owes to Elaine and them, if that's the case. And that's just what Elaine had said at the court case so far. She said that she had already been paying 6 million in fees basically to them. So you've got 6 million in
Gosh.
fees to Elaine. You've got the 8 million plus 350,000 to Johnny, because that's the amount that supposedly
Mm-hmm.
like the max he can get or whatever. Um, and then you've got what else? There was something else. Oh, and if she wants to do the appeal, she has to find somebody to do the bond for her. She has to
Mm-hmm.
put up the money that she owes Johnny to the court if she wants to appeal. And so she has to have someone do that bond for her. And not counting the amount of money that it would take to do an appeal as well. Like she's just digging a bigger hole. It's sad.
How is
Like,
she gonna?
at what point, at what point do you pull the plug?
When is she gonna? Gosh, that means that potentially any work she gets, Johnny gets a piece of it.
He could garnish her wages and her property that she just got. He could put a lien on it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at her property. Yeah, I'm looking. I don't. You know what? To be honest, I don't think Johnny would put a lien on her property. I don't
I
think
don't
he's
think
that
he
guy.
would. Yeah, but he
He
could.
purchased. Yeah, he could. He purchased this desert home. It says it's worth 1 million.
I think she bought it for 560,000 though.
Oh yeah, in 2019. The property is 6 acres of desert. So she's just
Which
moved
is a
into her
weird place
desert.
to raise a baby. Like,
Oh my gosh, in the desert. Well, she's
yeah.
from like the country. They say she's from Austin, but I think she's from outside of Austin.
Yeah, she said in the very beginning of the case, it was like some little town that nobody knows because nobody knows that town.
I wonder what town it is. So she speaks fluent Spanish, and she says it's because she grew up around a lot of Spanish speakers.
Yeah, kind of.
But
Have you seen her speak Spanish?
yeah, she speaks pretty good. She doesn't speak bad. So I mean,
I've only seen
she's,
one clip. It was like where she was at a hospital with a little baby or something.
yeah, no, she spoke, unless she practiced and practiced. But yeah, she spoke decent. I mean, she spoke fairly well. I'm trying to look at her desert abode. They don't have a lot of pictures of it. Where she's kicking it now. But yeah, I don't think Johnny would take away her house. I feel bad for her, poor lady. She's got issues, and the thing is that when you have issues, if you're self-aware is one thing, but
Yeah.
this is all alleged, right? That I mean, well, the was a
I mean,
psychiatrist?
she's been diagnosed
Yeah, she was
by a
yeah, she was
psychologist.
diagnosed. Yeah, she was diagnosed. So since she was diagnosed, right, by that psychologist, it's kind of sad that she's not self-aware. I don't know. I wonder what next steps. I mean, I think she can still get work. It's not going to be like, maybe major studio work again because I mean, keep in mind,
Yeah.
she so she did, regardless what anybody says, she did mess with somebody who was Hollywood's own, so to speak. He has a group, he has an infrastructure, so she did, lie on somebody that she probably shouldn't have lied on. You know what I mean? Like, she
Oh yeah, I
probably
mean,
shouldn't have
he has
lied
a
on him.
history of being a very generous person. And it just showed. I mean, she even talked about that in the beginning of the case where he literally was trying to buy her a horse and he bought her dad and mom all these things and he was like gave a place to her sister and to her friends and so and she tried to
Yeah, he
turn that
did.
into love bombing, but he does that for everybody. So it's like you can't call it love bombing because he's done that to literally every single person. He gave his best friend Isaac Baruch a place. He has given his security guards tons of gifts for the holidays and taken them on private vacations. And I mean, you can't fake generous.
You can't. You can't at all. Oh, I see her with her little baby in the desert, and then she's all like, it's a beautiful home. Beautiful home. But in the desert, my gosh, the electric bill's gotta be high.
I mean, you live in the desert, why not have solar panels?
Oh, she may have solar panels, who knows? I
That
think
would
it might
be
be
smart. I mean,
it it may be a green property for all we know. Yeah, it's a beautiful home. It's real pretty in the desert. Oh, well, and yeah, and she's out there. I wonder if she's out there by herself, right? Because if you're out there by yourself with a
I don't
baby,
know.
that's gonna be
Yeah.
harsh,
It's,
you know?
I just worry about her doing something to herself, with
You
everything, with
think?
all the stuff that's being, I mean, she's clearly mentally got some things going on. And she's taking medications. I mean, they talked about that in the trial. And
Then she
some of those
drinks.
medication, and she drinks, and apparently she does other things.
Yeah.
Hopefully not with the baby,
Mhm.
because especially if she is living out there by herself, it's, I don't know, it's very sticky situation for what she's caused for herself right now, and shown the world how mentally unstable she really is, and still doubles down on it after the trial.
Yeah, for sure. She did double down on it. She was like, "Nope, I did." Yeah, I mean, I said what I said. I mean, she's way to stick to a story for sure. Like way to stick to a story because she is not budging. This happened to me. It is what it is. And now every woman that comes forward against a powerful man is going to suffer immensely because of what happened to Amber Heard. Well, you know what, girl, you did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. So yeah, when that case came in and I saw that, I was like, whoa, insane for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. I don't know.
It is sad, super sad. I just hope that there's people there to help with her baby for sure. And I hope
She's gotta
that
have a
the
nanny.
nasty comments that she's getting, she doesn't have money. I mean,
She doesn't have any money. You're right.
you know, from what it says about her net worth online, she's negative 6 million. So
That's not good. Maybe she'll get some commercial work somewhere. Model.
yeah,
She's in her 30s now. Maybe she may get some modeling
and
gigs.
she's not carrying it very well. Like, she got some stuff done to her face, and it just, I don't think
She
it. I
did.
think she looked better before.
Oh, she was way prettier before. You're right. Something happened. You're right.
Got
Because
like
I
some
remember
cheek fillers.
I remember her thinking that she was really pretty in what was that movie? She, what was that movie? It was with James Franco.
Pineapple Express.
Yeah, I think she was pretty in Pineapple Express. So what do you think about James Franco? So James Franco was also Me Too'd, and he's just kind
Exactly.
of
He
kept
was Me Too by more than just,
by
I
more
mean, by
than
not
just
her,
one
but yeah, by
other
more than one
people,
person.
and obviously after this whole situation and the take came out of her and Amber canoodling, do you think he'll work? Like he'll work again because he's been keeping a total low profile. I have not seen James Franco in anything lately, and
I don't really keep up with him, so I don't really know what's going on with him, but I know that multiple people Me Too'd him and they had the receipts. So,
oh, they did. They did.
yeah.
They did. It was when he was being a professor. I remember when it was like he was in everything. I mean, he was doing everything. It was like James Franco could do no wrong. He was like hanging out with what is it? Marina Brab, what's her name? Marina
Bromovich.
Abramovich. He was on like some sort of soap opera. He was teaching classes in NYU. It's just like this guy was like on top of the world.
Wow.
Yeah. Was he? Let me Google that because I got to make sure that I'm just not giving you misinformation.
Yeah,
I get
definitely
so
don't do
much
that.
information. I know. I'm giving you misinformation. I think he was. teaching at one of the universities. But yeah, he was like doing all kinds of things. And then it's like James Franco, who. So yeah, it's kind of like insane. Insane for sure. So let's talk about this whole like this the more information that's coming out about the police officers in Uvalde that is
Sure.
like incredibly insane. I mean, the timestamps that they're putting out there on when they were called, when they came in, and there. Did you hear about that one mother that went in and just like got her? I mean, just insane.
Yeah,
Went
they
in and
had
got
her
her
in
kids.
handcuffs. They had her in handcuffs from what I heard, and then she got someone to get her out of the handcuffs, and then she ran in and like got her kid and took them out.
I know. And then and they asked her, "Hey, did you see any officers in there?" Like, "No, ma'am." Like, "No, no." So I wonder what the fallout of all of this is going to be.
Yeah. Well, and that teacher that they claimed left that door open, there's apparently video of her actually shutting the door and her trying to make sure it was shut, but yet the door wasn't locked. And so she has an attorney, I think, representing her now too. But that whole thing is a mess, you know. And then, oh my God, stupid Cruz, Ted Cruz, talking about there needs to be one entrance in and one entrance out of the school. Are you fucking stupid? Like, one entrance in and one entrance out. Like, okay, that's not a fire hazard, especially
No,
of a
you can't
school.
do
Like,
that. Yeah,
that's
you can't. You have
what?
to have one. But there's a lot of things that door should have been able to lock automatically. You
They
know,
normally do.
so something must have happened there. But regardless, I mean, once it's all said and done on this investigation, I hope that people still keep this top of mind and not another big thing happens and people forget about it. And all of a sudden, it's just a little town where something really bad happened. I
Well, there's
really
already
hope.
been, what, four more shootings since then?
Oh my goodness, the one in Oklahoma about the guy that got upset with the doctor,
Yeah.
and then I don't know some other one. I
I
mean,
think there
heck,
was one in Florida.
we tend to forget, but there's also a lot going on in like Chicago, right? In Illinois and all those issues and that's also happening. So I just don't want to lose light of what's going on. That's what I'm afraid that people are going to forget like, I hate to say it, but how some people forgot about Sandy Hook, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay,
The
because
news
something that
cycle. Yeah.
yeah, the news cycle, right? The news cycle is something I just really hope that something is done and I and yeah, I really just hope that something's done because we can't just be living in this situation where it's like it's a repeat, right? Was that the definition? What is the definition of the of insanity? They say it's like doing the same thing
Repeating
over,
something over and over with and expecting a different result.
expecting a different result. And at this point, we're kind of at that situation. So those folks really need to, up in Washington, really need to get their act together and figure something out because there's no reason whatsoever. So yeah, the more information's coming out, the more I think about it, I'm more thinking like, oh my goodness, how did all of this happen? How did it happen? And
Well,
how, I
and
mean,
that local police department too apparently has stopped cooperating with the, what is it, DPS office or whatever.
I heard that too. And then the police chief he was gonna be part sworn into city council and they swore him in. They just did, when nobody was like watching. I'm just thinking, why would he even like the chief of police? I don't know. I don't know.
The
That was
crazy thing is too is that 40% of that town's money basically went to the police department and their training and stuff like that and their gear. I
well,
don't know. There's a lot of wonky things going on with this. A lot of people are like, "Well, how did this boy get all these, basically at thousands of dollars worth of gun
nine
and
thousand
ammo?"
dollars.
Yeah, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe he was stealing money or stealing things to make money, and
The how, so I was thinking that too, and then somebody brought up a point and said the how is important, right? It is important, figuring
Oh,
out
for
how.
sure.
So keep in mind that the medium household income in that town is $28,000. So $28,000, and he came up with
Nine.
9,000. So how, I mean, I have absolutely no idea. Did some people were saying credit cards. I'm sure they're gonna
Maybe.
be
Maybe stealing.
investigating.
Yeah.
Yeah. But stealing from who? I mean, stealing from who? Because I mean, the medium income in that town is $28,000. You know, so I I'm curious
Well,
to see.
didn't he have like some social medias and stuff too? Because I mean, you can make a lot of money on different social media platforms these days just by having
Yeah,
like I I don't get on Twitch, but I mean I think you can make quite a bit of money on Twitch. So
I don't know. I think they'll figure it all out. Like, I'm sure the Department of Justice is going to investigate. Okay, how did he got the money? Who sold it to him? Right? Because at some point you have to think about it. And I think that anybody who sells those types of things has the discretion to say, you know what, this doesn't feel right. I'm not going to sell it to you.
yeah.
You know,
Well, if they did
and
that, there would be a lot less people with guns because
exactly.
you can't tell me that quite a few. I mean, look at the guy who did the hospital shooting. He literally went in, bought the guns, and went and did it just like spur of the moment. There was no waiting
Yeah,
period. He bought the guns, and that's what he went to do.
yeah, yeah. And in this particular, and I'm just trying to figure out, like, I know people are just trying to piece things together, right? And for some people it doesn't matter, obviously, because they're still grieving over this whole process. But I think when they do the investigation, they should really investigate, okay, how did this kid get this income? Who sold it to them, and why? Because he bought top of the line, right? That's a top of the line brand. You know
Yeah,
what, and then and even getting that type of all of that he got, like, those are, like, he must have really been doing his research, which is possibly be the case. But
yeah.
how did he, was there any sort of other activity that he was doing?
Well, it's
Who
coming
knows?
out that this wasn't like a surprise. If people really would have been monitoring this, this wasn't a surprise. Like he was literally like threatening women already online and talking about doing these type of things already. I forget on what platform it was, but it was one of the social platforms, not TikTok or something like that, but it was like somewhere along the lines of Twitch and stuff, but I don't think it was Twitch. I think it was called something else. But he literally had been messaging some girl up until the point to where he went and do it.
I mean, it's just it's so sad because it was a lot. I mean, it's a failure on so many levels, right? You know, on things that weren't caught on time, on information that wasn't. It just, I think a lot of it might have been, and this is just my opinion, I don't know, might have been, oh, he's in a small town, we know him, because he grew up there. He grew up there. So I think that, to me, is the most hurtful, right? That here's this town of maybe 15,000 people, and this kid was from there. If people saw him at the store, they probably knew who he was. They probably all went to the same
Mhm.
supermarket, ate at the same restaurants. And I think that's the most painful part of it, right? That he might have known, those kids, older brothers, older siblings, maybe even seen those. So it wasn't like a stranger coming in and hurting people. It was somebody that's from within, which I think is just sad.
Yeah. Well, and I had heard too um, that apparently some lady or something was talking about he would kill cats and carry them around in a plastic bag. So, like, and this was a while back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
for somebody to notice something, a kid doing that for fun, killing cats and carrying them in a plastic bag, and nobody's doing anything about it. And again, a lot of that comes back to, yes, our mental health system, because I'm sure he couldn't afford to get help. His mom couldn't afford to get him help, I'm sure. Even if she had Medicaid, the system sucks. It is so incredibly hard to get your child psychological and therapeutic help when you have Medicaid. And there were just so many signs with this boy that could have been caught, again, with like the killing of the cats and then threatening girls. And there's this saying, and I forget who says it, but basically it is, and I'm going to butcher it, but the gist of it is um, basically the child that's basically shunned from the city will burn down the village.
Mhm.
And so they talked about him being a bully, but he was claiming to have been bullied, but that he would try to bully people but wasn't really successful in his bullying. And so a lot of it does come back to like making these people outcasts. They have clear issues. And of course, they're going to be turned into an outcast from the city, and they're not going to be able to have people care for them. And in turn, they end up burning the village. You know, they do something to the extent of like what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I'm sure more is going to come out about this individual, but yeah, he did that for sure. And horrible, horrible, because this is just gonna, I mean, this is gonna impact their every day. It's sad, but it's true. So,
Well,
I don't know.
everybody, it's not just them, I mean, nationwide.
Oh, for sure. For sure. For sure. I mean, I know that everybody's that I was through like the whole thing, uh, um, just because it was just
You're
incredibly sad.
cutting out really bad.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Do you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oops. Okay. So for sure, I think very, very sad. But more information will come. Hopefully the Department of Justice will release the investigation. I'm sure eventually they will. And I'm glad that they're investigating, because definitely this is something that, you know, people need to know.
Stories
And
like this are overlooked every single day,
oh, for sure.
every single day. With
For
kids
sure.
doing, like, we locally here in one of the neighborhoods back here, somebody was posting on Nextdoor, you know, where you
Mhm.
can kind of post about the neighborhood and stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody was shooting basically like with the little arrows, the turtles and stuff at the pond.
Mhm.
Not like in our complex, but in the houses right here where we live.
Mhm.
And they didn't know who was doing it, but they were doing it all the time. And they thought it was this little kid, this
Mhm.
little boy who was always going over there. But it's just, you know, the neighborhood's talking about it, but nothing's really being done about stuff like that because
Yeah.
parents really just can't be there for their kids these days because they're having to work so much. You
Yeah.
know, it requires both parents really working multiple jobs these days just to afford to live well.
Yeah. To have a house. I mean, rent is completely
Rent is
you know
crazy.
what? I was seeing this girl on TikTok. I was talking about Florida. She wasn't talking about Texas. She was saying how all these people are coming from New York and from California, and they're paying California and New York prices. So she's all like, people from here
Yeah.
aren't going to pay. You know, let's just say the house is worth 200,000, but I mean, if you into um well, California and New York, you realize that I mean, it's a good neighborhood, right? Because everybody's paying a million plus for their house, but it could be a very small house, right? Maybe 15 square feet,
Yeah.
two bathroom, whatever, right? 3 bedroom, two bath, 1,500 square feet, maybe like $1 million, right? In a nice
Yeah.
neighborhood. Well, they come here and they're like, whoa, with this much, they're paying cash for their house, right? And
Yeah.
well, it's pricing out local folks. And then not only that, something that Disney was moving some of their folks to Florida, and now I don't know how true this is. This is just a TikTok talking. I'm just saying, right? Like, but I've seen this happen where they move a company over to
You're
different.
cutting out.
Oh,
Oh,
go ahead. Do you hear me better?
sorry. It's very, very choppy.
Okay, let me see. Okay, all right. Do you hear me? Is it still choppy? Do you hear me? Oops, it's like,
Only a little bit.
oh. Okay. So as I was saying before technical difficulties,
Hold on
so
one second.
yes,
All right, there
yeah,
we
go
go.
ahead.
Now we're back.
So now we're back. So saying before our technical difficulties, so this girl in Florida was basically saying that I think she said it was Disney, but they were moving all of some of their California folks to Florida, and of course they were still going to pay them California, like their salaries were going to remain the same. They were going to change them. Well, that's going to make her rent go up, but not only just go up like a little bit, like go up like double.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Am I going to be able to afford living in my apartment now? She had absolutely no clue. And so that's fine if I mean, that's assuming those folks keep their job, right? But then if they don't, they're going to have to move again to continue that type of lifestyle.
Yeah, I
So
saw somebody, maybe that girl, where she was talking about her rent from like 2,200 to 4,000 or something like that.
yeah, yeah, it's insane. I mean, and they're like, oh no, rent's going up. And so how are those people gonna do it? Like, are they gonna have to get two or three? And I think maybe people are getting 2 or 3 jobs to kind of make ends meet. So it's super sad.
Florida was recently just listed as, I think, the most expensive place to live in the US or something like that.
And it wasn't like that. People would retire
No,
there.
it was a fixed income place.
Hmm, hmm.
And I
Now it's like,
mean, now all those people with fixed incomes are being forced out, which is crazy because they're going to start seeing, I think, a huge take of difference in their politics there, because you did have a bunch of retirees who voted conservatively. And now you've got a bunch of people moving from big tech areas, New York, who wanted the lifestyle that came with living in a conservative state, but who typically vote blue.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I wonder what's going to happen to I mean, but people are still moving into California though. Like,
Well, California has a lot of empty buildings right now, but yet their
mm,
prices are still rising, even though people are dramatically moving out of California.
do you think it's because it's I wonder, do you think it's because it's international?
I think California is just trying to keep what they were doing in the first place. I think they haven't really hit a moment to recalibrate basically their markets,
Hmm.
but I think we're going to end up seeing that maybe eventually. Right, they haven't had a crash. Like, they're in essentially a huge bubble right now because they do
Mm,
have so many vacant properties, so many vacant complex buildings, but yet their prices are still increasing, which is crazy because your supply and demand is off. And so you're
yeah,
essentially just in a huge bubble right now, and at some point that market's going to come crashing down.
for sure. For sure. I was going to ask you, are we recording? Because I don't see the little red button moving like usually the time.
It says it is, but
Okay.
yet the recording thing says 0. So hold on, let me see.
Now it says resumed. So we're back.
All right, cool. It's not counting, so I don't
Mm.
know. We'll see what happens at the end.
So, well, so the whole thing with so you're right. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do, but I heard that. So I did hear that there's price cuts to a lot of the housing market. Like the houses aren't moving as quickly as they were in the West Coast. Obviously, it hasn't impacted Texas or even Florida yet, but that they're not moving very quickly in terms of sales.
Well, I don't think it's going to affect here in Florida very much because people are moving here in Florida from
True.
California, and
True.
from the West. So basically, it's making Austin really, really expensive because a lot of those tech people are moving down to Austin, and it's it's making a pretty bad problem for the people who live in Austin, just like it is for the people in Florida, where it's making prices so incredibly high that it's forcing people out.
And it's sad because that was such a nice town. Austin was such a fun city, and it was like not pretentious at all. It was very chill, relaxed. Every time I think about it, I have like, it was, they had a very big Hispanic community, and now that's gone. Everything's just so vacuumed. I don't know how to explain it. Austin was kind of like dingy, dirty, fun. I don't know how. Now it's just like it went corporate. It
Yeah,
went corporate on me. Now they have like an Hermes store there and all of these expensive, obviously because all these tech people started moving there, and they have that. But what's sad is it's like you can't live in the center of the city, and that definitely changes. It definitely changes the vibe of the city
yeah,
for sure. For sure. Now it's got like kind of a different vibe. So I
yeah,
don't know. We'll see what happens but you're right, Austin and all of the surrounding areas around Austin, right? So it's like all the little towns around there are also expensive. I mean, people are moving to Waco. Who would have thunk, right?
yeah. Waco's just a little country town.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be. Now it's all like yeah, it used to be home of David Koresh. Like they were known for the whole David Koresh situation, right? This cult that was out there. And now it's like
Mm.
totally different. Now they're known for Chip and Joanna.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's true. That's
that's what
true.
they're known for. They're Chip and Joanna, and they're like
The
beautiful homes.
games.
The gains, I wonder if I wonder if do you think it's ever going to impact like the real estate market is going to cool down here in Texas and in Florida?
I mean, something's gonna happen for sure. I follow this one dude on TikTok, and he doesn't live here in Texas, but he's talked about a market crash coming for the housing market soon too.
Mhm.
Um, some say yes, some say no. He does investing, as
Mhm.
far as like he's a lender for people
Mhm.
who buy properties and flip them and stuff like that. Um, and he has said that he thinks a crash is coming. So I don't know. We'll see. Some say yes, some say no, but something's got to give because the normal everyday person can't afford to live, and that's a problem. And I think we're going to start seeing that, especially. I don't know. This political year is really weird because I feel that the Democratic Party is really pushing a lot of people who are kind of in the middle that vote Democrat
Mhm.
out of the party,
Mhm.
because they're becoming so polarized.
Mhm.
And but there's nowhere to go. Like, people like that, which would be me, would be one. I don't want to vote Republican because they're
Mhm.
extremist as well.
Mhm.
And so all we have right now are these two parties that are extremist, and that's leaving out all the people in the middle who are moderate, whether you're conservatively moderate or democratically moderate, liberal moderate,
Mhm.
whatever, it's pushing these people out of these groups because for so long we could vote one way or the other and kind of know where everything would be at politically. But
Mhm.
now, if you vote one side or the other, you have one side who wants to fully take away your ability to make a choice of what vaccine you get or what you put in your body, or being locked down and not being able to go buy groceries. But then you've got this party over here who's trying to take away other people's rights of, like, women not being able to choose what happens to their body, especially in cases of rape or incest or being underage. um, the party that's pro-life but yet doesn't want to do anything for the baby once it's born, um, doesn't want health care for people. And so I don't know, we're in a really, really weird place politically right now. And what do you do?
There's not. I mean, there's nothing unless somebody comes around that's like. But I mean, obviously, it has to be like from a local that's somebody that's moderate. And you're right. It's these extremes, and you don't think that these people are going to win, and then they win, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah. Well, I
You
mean, look
know?
at Herschel Walker.
Hmm.
Herschel Walker won his runoff. And I
Oh
don't know
well.
if you're familiar with Herschel Walker, but he literally, like, basically threatened to kill his ex and used to beat her and stuff like that, and
Mm.
has, like, assault charges and stuff like that. And he won his conservative runoff as a Trumpy.
Whoa. Whoa. Interesting for sure. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. Did not know that at all.
And then there's another, what is he? Is he I forget if this guy is a congressman or a senator, but he literally has family assault charges to his wife when she was pregnant,
Mm.
and he's currently sitting. So it's just like, I don't know. I mean, if you have any kind of criminal history, you should not be allowed to be in politics and being a voice for the people of your community, like,
Sure.
especially as a spouse abuser.
True. Makes a no-brainer, but I mean, you're right. I don't know what I don't know where this world what this world is coming to. It's just all s- I don't know, bizarre. Speaking of bizarre, did we talk about this? The crater in China that has like
I
these
don't
like
think we talked
prehistoric.
about it, but yeah, that's super cool.
Isn't it cool? But I wonder if they're gonna go in there. I mean, they already went in there, but not like gone in there like to explore some more.
Are you familiar with Songdoon?
No, go ahead and tell me about it.
Songdoon, I believe, is in Vietnam. I believe it's in Vietnam. But it literally is like an under it's it's this cave that you can go into, and it has its own rainforest in it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. You should check it out. It's so cool. It's literally just like this place.
Oh wow. Did they find any new species there though?
Um, I think at that time they may have, but I'm not sure. But you
Gotta
can
look into
actually
it.
go travel to this place and camp, and you have to have, like, a person that guides you through it and everything. But yeah, I mean, it literally looks like a whole different world. It looks so cool. And
Oh wow.
it's very similar to this place too.
Oh wow. I wonder if they're gonna start investigating this crazy. Well, they already went in there. They said that there was like very tall trees and very, but I'm just curious what if there was any cool new animals.
I think they did say they did find some in this one, things that they
I gotta
didn't know
check.
existed. Yeah,
Very, very cool. Like looking forward to that. Oh my goodness. It's so insane.
it is. It's crazy to think about, because I mean, if those exist, how many more exist? And how many layers do we go down of places that exist like that?
Oh, you know what's so crazy is that they're saying that they found in the jungle of the Amazon, they found all of these like pyramids,
Mhm.
but like they haven't gone to see them. They just did it all like via like satellite.
LiDAR.
Yeah, LiDAR, that's what it was. And then it was like different locations. And it's so funny because he was saying that because they don't know if some of the stuff was planted there because these were like is it just an overgrown garden, because they were kind of close to each other, but they had water, they had all of this, like, not yeah, it was pretty from a technology standpoint for what it was, yeah, you know, and they
Yeah,
were more advanced than we thought they were. But keep in mind all these books, Michelle, because here's the thing. When the conquistadores landed, right? And they burned so many books and so much knowledge was lost. And I'm curious what books, because the Vatican did keep some books, right?
Vatican's got a good supply of books there that people are not allowed to see at all.
I wonder what those books say. Like, what does, has anybody, what do those books say? Are they like hidden away or what do they say? Because wow, wow. I think it's interesting if they had all this technology and they had written it down, but at that point I guess it didn't matter to them. They didn't care. They knew what they wanted: gold, and they wanted the land, and they wanted money, and that was it, right?
Yeah,
And they wanted to figure out a way to move along, right?
yeah.
But yeah, I
Well,
thought that was fairly interesting.
we claim to be the most advanced civilization that's ever lived. But if you look at, and I mean, we kind of are in certain areas, but there are other areas that we definitely are not. And if you look back at very ancient times and some of the hieroglyphs that exist from then, like, how would they know? How would they know, right? Like, there's literally hieroglyphs of helicopters and airplanes and flying things. And if you look at like the Mayans, there are literally sculptures of things that look like men with astronaut suits on. And so, from way back then, to say that we're the most advanced civilization and we're the only people who have thought of these things that we have now, it's just hard to believe if you really look at the stuff that exists from those times.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they had irrigation systems, they had pathways, they knew of each other. I mean, there's also like a so they say that some of the Aztecs were part of were a clan of the Hopi tribe.
Yeah,
And so because a lot of this they say, let's be honest, the symbolism are the same. Anybody who has any sort of logical will be like, oh, this symbolism is the same. It's like saying, okay, I speak, there's very similar language. It's like saying
dialect. Yeah,
dialect. It's like saying Latin, right? Like, obviously, if Latin, and that Spanish, right? And so is like Italian and even French, I think it's French, and even Portuguese, they're all kind of have Latin, they're derived from Latin, right?
yeah,
So the same thing, it's like they have like these symbols, and the guy's like, yeah, I believe it was the Hopi tribe. Um,
yeah.
and the guy came in and he was like doing some research. He's like, hey, does this look familiar? Yeah, this looks familiar. And he's like, well, what went on? Well, there was a clan and they went back into, I think they were like the serpent, right? Or something like
Yes,
that,
it
which
is.
is
The
symbolic.
Hopi tribes had to do with the serpents. Yeah,
Yeah. So he's all like, the serpent. He's like, yeah, there was this clan and they said they had to go back to the land of the serpent. And you're like, this guy's basically telling people, yeah, more than likely this is part of our clan. They went over there and be like, no, no, that's not, that's not possible.
they
But
couldn't
there's like
travel that far, and like, but there's so many things that we found that literally prove that whoever this group of people or whatever were at the time literally had the capability to travel the entire world.
yeah,
We just don't want to own it because we want to keep thinking we're the smartest we've ever been.
yeah. So these guys traveled, they did whatever, I mean, and what they did, and I can't even imagine what it was like to go there and see this city on a lake, which like, because it's literally it was on a lake with different, and I was like, it must have been like amazing. And for them to think, right, and I'm thinking about the conquistadores, right, to think, these people are pretty advanced. Let me take the knowledge from it. Nope, let me just take their gold.
Yeah.
Let me take their gold. Like I would have been like completely like awestruck, and these guys are all like, let's keep it moving.
There are a few people, I don't know if you already listened to them, but Graham Hancock,
Hmm.
Randall Carlson, and Robert Schock. I would start with those three.
Hmm.
They go and they look at all these ancient cities. Like
Hmm.
Graham Hancock has been working on Göbekli Tepe and
Hmm.
the new cities that have they found in Turkey. He's gone to a lot of the underwater cities too,
Hmm.
and things that they found underwater. Um, but yeah, those three right there are a couple to really, if you're into like the ancient cities and ancient
Hmm.
stuff, that's pretty much what they do, and it's really really cool, really cool.
Insane, insane. I would just love to kind of take a look at that again, like you know, take you up on checking those guys out to see what they have to offer because it's amazing. Every time I hear something like that, and I'm like, whoa, how cool is that? Which means that these folks all knew about each other. All these tribes knew that there was tribes to the south,
Yeah.
and that there was tribes here, which leads me to believe because here I am now. I never heard this term before. Um, growing up as a Latina, being detribalized because we were always taught we're a combination of, indigenous, European, and in some cases African, right? And that was kind of it's our racial makeup. Even
Mhm.
though in the United States we're classified as white, and there's a long history because of that, because of when Texas annexed to, not annexed, really was taken, right? Given.
Yeah,
Um,
when they decided to take Texas, or take Mexico and turn it into Texas, yeah.
yeah, for sure. So there was a lot of people who were already married to women of color, right? So of course, instead of saying, okay, well, we have to make them like they're white now. So, but in reality, when you look at this, and even somebody from South Texas said, even from South Texas, it would be very hard for them to admit. They would say that their race is white. In reality, we're probably detribalized indigenous folks. And when you start taking genetics, I know a friend of mine took her genetic. I haven't done my ancestry DNA, but she did her genetics. She's from South Texas, born and raised, family there for generations. She had some Apache in her. Like that was
Mm.
like her, yeah. And it was,
Girl, you better go
but
get that test so you can be part of the reservation.
no, they have like culture of the roles, not me. I'm not. I'm like
Get your money, girl. Get that money.
yeah. She was like half she's not half, but she had a really it was I mean, it was a pretty significant chunk where I was like, "Girl, I didn't know." She's like, "Yeah." And so because of you have to keep in mind, we automatically think that all of this happened really fast, right? But it took time. So there was people who were getting married and having kids, and it took like generations.
Hmm.
It was quick, but it was short, right? And so yeah, she had, and so you knew when you look at a lot of people from South Texas, they have kind of very indigenous features, and one of the terms that they use is we're detribalized. We don't have a tribe because of the amount of mixing. And I thought that was pretty interesting, she called it. As a matter of fact, my sister did her DNA. She'll get her results this month. I'm curious to see what she comes up with. I don't like the idea of having my DNA in a database, although I feel
Yeah.
that at this point I'm kind of screwed because she already put it in there. If she hadn't put it in the database, I would have thought, oh, okay. But now that she put it in there, it's like, all right,
It
that's
is
it
what it is. I've had mine done, and honestly, if they really want your DNA, they're gonna get it somehow. So,
for sure. So, what was your makeup?
girl, I'm white as white. I am
This is
European. So,
there's nothing interesting that you were like, oh wow.
I mean, as far as parts of
Hmm.
being over there, yeah, I mean, it was a surprise because, I mean, like, my dad claimed that we had some Indian, and
Mhm.
like his mom's Indian, which was weird because like nothing came back with that. Like
Mhm.
nothing. Like let me pull it up here. So I
So
was just like surprised by that.
what's funny, my ex-husband always claimed he was like indigenous, like he had like indigenous background. Now, he was a yeah, indigenous background. And then his genetic makeup came back and he was like full on European. Nothing indigenous in him. And to the point that they even did his grandfather thought he was like always thought he was like indigenous also, right? Had some indigenous ancestry and same thing. Nothing. He even felt like he had to take it twice. I was like, "No, you're full on European." Nothing. Not even not nothing. No little swirl there. So it was interesting because he really thought that he had some Native American background in him, but obviously it was not the case.
Yeah. So let's see here. 40% England and Northwestern Europe, 21% France. Uh, go away. 14% Scotland, 13 Norway, 4% Sweden, Denmark, Germanic Europe, Wales, Baltics, Ireland. Girl, I'm white as white.
So did you expect that as much English from Britain, England?
Um, well, I kind of knew that our family had ties from around like the um oh, I'm blanking on it right now. Shoot, I can't even think of it right now. All right, I'm just completely blank. I can't even think of
Okay.
the name of it right now.
It's okay. It's okay,
It's
but
like
yeah.
not Russia, but an area like around the corner of Russia.
Mhm.
But yeah, for the England in like northwestern Europe, France, Scotland, I was kind of like, interesting, because like I knew my mom had some Irish, like family line Irish,
Mhm.
but yeah, so I was
Interesting.
like, okay. I mean, I kind of got some red
Yeah.
hair.
So you're like, maybe. Interesting. How funny.
Yeah,
A-
I was hoping that
Anyway,
it would tell you like who your ancestors were since it's called ancestry.com, but it
don't you have to
really
register?
didn't.
Don't you have to register for that to see if like to see your family tree?
Well, I have an account. That's how I pulled it up.
Oh, so did you figure out your family tree? Did you find any people that were related to you?
I mean, family tree, yes, but as far as like just kind of like great great grandparents and stuff like that, but I wanted like ancestors. Like I want to know if I came from Adam and Eve. You know what I'm saying? Like I want it that far back.
That far back. Ah, ah, that's funny.
I want to
That
know who in time I was related to from
uh-huh.
the, you know, small groups of all of the whoever were traveling around.
Hmm.
That's what I wanted to know. But yeah,
So
I mean, as far as that, it's not
how far did it go back?
nothing cool. Like
Mm.
it was literally, it seems to be just having to do with other people that sign up and like who they report as being their family members.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, I know y'all got to have some DNA somewhere from these ancient people that you could tie these to, you
Yeah.
know? But
I
yeah,
think
nothing cool.
my earliest they came from Spain, I think. And then they went from Spain to Venezuela where he married his wife, and then he went to Puerto Rico. It's so funny because when you go to
Czech
Puerto Rico,
Republic. Sorry,
Czech
Czech
Republic,
Republic.
Czech
That's
Republic,
what
you
I was
got
trying
it.
to think of.
Czech Republic, you got it. Yeah, and then they came in, but I still have to figure out like my sister will figure out who they like. I know what my grandfather his name was, and then like I know my great grandfather, then my great grandfather, and then great grandfather. It's like three back, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see what she. I'm curious to see if there's anybody that we're related to that that you don't expect to be related to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I'm just curious.
Did she do 23andMe or did she do Ancestry? Because
She did Ancestry.
I'm curious to see what 23andMe would come back with, because maybe more people have done 23andMe than Ancestry.
Maybe, maybe,
I just don't
maybe.
want to give it to another database.
That's true. To be like, I'll give it to another database. I don't know.
I mean,
Uh, d-
Ancestry is already selling our DNA to BlackRock, so
my sister's, yeah, getting her DNA. So she could have sold it herself. I'm just kidding. For
like
sure.
I
I
don't
don't
know,
know.
BlackRock, maybe for 20 million,
Ah,
but they're buying it now for all of them probably. I
pennies
forget
on
how
the
much.
dollar.
Yeah, pennies on the
Pennies on
dollar.
the pennies on the dollar. I
They're
don't
gonna
know.
make clones of all of us.
For sure. For sure. For sure. For sure. Oh my goodness, we're all gonna be cloned. That'll be weird. For
That
sure.
would be weird.
All right, Michelle, I think it's about that time. Oh, I think it's about that time. What do you think?
Oh, I guess.
Oh my goodness. Well, it was great. It was another great podcast. I mean, we went around the world literally cloning ourselves. Well, like
be
we're
be interested in all of the things that we talk about.
interested. Oh my goodness. Now I'm gonna figure out how to put it all together. But
Take
for
you on an
sure.
adventure.
Everywhere, everywhere.